Is your back development an issue? Whether it's losing in shows on stage or you just feel like you have the smallest back in the gym? My name is Luke Miller. I'm the owner of J3 Coaching. And over the last year and a half, we've won over 30 pro cards. We have 2 Olympia qualifications. Today, we're going to walk through some of the clients who have had successful outcomes on stage and have had successful outcomes with their back development. So you can take some of the skills that they have, apply it to your training, and change the way that you actually train back and actually change the way that your back looks after a long period of time doing this. First, we're going to start with Colton. I love Colton as the starting because when you look at his photos, his back double here and his rear lat spread here, pretty much no one's going to be beating him from the rear with those back shots. And so we can look at the habits that he's done that's actually developed that and the things that have been fixed over time. The single arm lat pull down is a classic example. When he sets into it, he presets that top stretch position by supinating the arm some and finding where the shoulder goes to the max top end range without actually starting to go into overhand rotation. A movement in full range of motion doesn't take a joint capsule or shoulder through the full range it's capable of. It takes you through the full range that actually trains that lat. So when you set up and see these reps that Colton's doing, he finds that lengthened position at setup. He initiates the lat by starting by pushing down the shoulder, cueing elbow to the quad, and he finishes it by going down and back just a hair because there is a little bit of extension moment that the lat will have at the humerus. And this allows him to get a lot of lat out of this pattern. Now for the alignment piece, we're gonna look at a video of how I get into this so that you can see how Colton sets up into this as well. This is just to align the shoulder, the elbow, the hand, and where the cable's coming from, and as close to a straight line as possible. And make sure that we keep this in the lat plane, because what most of you do is all of your lat work is in the rear delt teres plane. They're pretty close, but you guys are not having any lats on stage, but you have massive rear delts. You actually end up losing the back shots because you have no lower lat. And so this is kind of the setup you would do for the single arm lat pull down. So now we need to start thinking for all of our lat specific patterns, how do I get a setup that sets us up in a position like this to drive shoulder down in depression, the arm closer to the body in adduction, and some extension depending on if it's a row or a direct overhead. Then from there, we're actually going to pivot into some overhand rowing. The set point of a wide back is to have massive teres, really dense traps, and some really well-developed rear delts so that from the top, it creates the largest portion of the X-frame and ties into some really well-developed lower lats. So what we're going to look at here is Cassandra. Cassandra is an IFBB pro in figure. She just turned pro last year with me in our first season together. We won the overall at the regional show, had a couple first call-outs in the first 2 national shows, and then won her pro card at the 3rd one. And so in her first season competing, she turned pro. And so the standards of execution she already had in place that we fixed transitioning into NPC were actually those of pro caliber athletes. And you can see that here in this overhand extreme row. Some big keys. We're using the extreme row so that we can get lengthened loading. If you don't have this piece, a chest supported T-bar row is a great substitution. Some things that she does really well here with this is she's cueing hand pressure down and out on the handles. Can't see this in the video, but this is an internal cue that's actually going to create more tension in the bottom and make sure that we get the most out of that lengthened in range. Lastly, what you'll see is she does allow for some slight extension as that elbow goes back. We don't want to get into flexion extension with overhand rowing that actually uses momentum to get it all the way short, but a slight tilt up from the chest pad to get that trap all the way short is needed in these chest supported overhand rows. And the other thing that you'll see is she does have a slight pause in the stretch position, making sure she gets the most out of the lengthened position, and we can make the most of the most important portion of this pattern. It's the reason why she turned pro in her first season. Last but not least, we're going to be looking at the wide grip pull down. Everyone's staple, most famous one from the Arnold Schwarzenegger days. So to start that, we're going to actually look at the hardest variation of it. We're going to look at Alicia. Same thing for Alicia in our first season together. We did 2 shows. We won the overall at the first one. We won our pro card at the second one. Basically clean house. And a lot of this had to do with the year and a half of off season leading in. She took every single training cue that I asked for her to fix, fully implemented that in the training so that her training fully drove the stimulus to where it needed to go. And this pull-up is a classic example of this. With wide grip pull-down variations, the pull-up being the hardest version, it's really easy to get into momentum. So torso going forward and backwards in order to get some momentum in the stretch position. We're actually changing that ribcage position, which limits our ability to actually load those fibers as well. But what you see is she creates a slight arch. She holds that slight arch, and then as she pulls, she's creating outward hand tension in order to make sure that teres, rear delt, and that mid trap are lighting up throughout the entirety of the rep. and that torso doesn't move as she pulls herself all the way up. Now, most people, when we do this pull up, turn it into more of a kipping pull up or actually do whatever they can to just get momentum moving up. Now we're going to look at another athlete, and to transfer this into a pattern that you are actually probably doing if you're not able to do pull-ups is the classic wide grip cable pull down. Sabina, same situation, got her coming off of some competing, did an all season together, put all this training tips in, won her pro card in the first season of us competing together, and now she's pursuing the upper levels of the WPD pro ranks and the IFBB pro league. And one of the big things with this that you notice is she has a slight pause in the top, and at the bottom, which is something that I really like to look at for grip width, is seeing that that hand is stacked directly over the elbow. In wide grip pull downs, a lot of you guys are not getting the maximum mechanical tension, or you're actually getting elbow pain from having that grip way too wide. And at the bottom, that hand is actually moving outside of the elbow. If we want to get maximal full range of motion for terries and traps, making sure that we get it fully shortened. And then in the top position, we're getting the scapulas moving up and around the rib cage as far as we can to get the most out of length and position. The grip width is an important piece of that. And the last piece is, same as the pull-up, we're holding that rib cage in a static position with a slight expanded rib cage for an overhand pull, so that those scaps can move up and around the rib cage to create length and tension. So if you're not doing any of these, you're probably leaving progress on the table. All of these are athletes who have either turned pro in their first season working with us, and they're now pursuing being competitive in the pro ranks, or they won an overall in their first season together with us and are really kind of making the leaps and jumps in their physique to be able to be competitive at the national level and move into the pro ranks as well. So if this is you and you want to have a back that is capable of doing this, or you just want to have the biggest back in the gym, make sure that you take all the notes from this video, go implement it into your next training session. And if you want to learn more, make sure you check out the Applied Hypertrophy Optimization module at J3 University. Or if you just want us to teach it to you, you can actually go directly to J3 Coaching. There's a link down in the description below. You can pick a coach that fits you the best, and we can get you set up and moving towards maximizing your physique development together through our coaching process.